Welcome to the 2025 edition of upcoming car launches for the year. Now, normally this is a video that we do at the end of 2024 or whatever year we're just coming out from. But this time around, we figured we'd wait for the Auto Expo because in a lot of cases, we weren't getting concrete enough details about what kind of cars we would be expecting. And as you know, if you've seen our previous videos, which we have linked in the description, we don't go for clickbait. We're about accurate information, and if we have concrete enough inputs about a car coming, we will include it in that list. And if you don't see a car or a brand that you were looking forward to in this list, it's probably because we didn't have concrete enough information.
Right. And disclaimer, plans change all the time.
Yes.
Budgets change all the time. People change all the time. But one thing's for sure, there are a lot of interesting cars that are coming this year. And as is tradition, we should start with
Maruti Suzuki, beginning with a car that the people have already seen possibly at the Bharat Mobility Show, which is the all-new Vitara, which is Maruti Suzuki's first ever pure electric car for India.
Yeah, that car was a little surprising to me.
How so?
To be honest, because there are a lot of things that are going in favor of it. It is a ground-up EV, developed on a dedicated electric architecture. You get two battery packs, 49 kilowatt hour, 61 kilowatt hour. Claimed range they're saying is going to be somewhere around 500 odd kilometers, which means real world should translate to anywhere between 400-ish. That is where, say, for example, the Creta Electric sits. That's where the Curve EV55 sits. So there's a lot of promise in the package, and it's doing so much new for a Maruti for the first time.
Yeah.
You own a Grand Vitara, and even if you compare it to that, this is not just a batterified version of a Grand Vitara.
Exactly. It's not just a Grand Vitara electric with a few feature enhancements.
Yeah.
I don't mean this as some kind of jibe at the Creta electric. It's just what it is. But the platform is new, the cabin design is new, the cabin materials are also new because the e-Vitara does feel more premium in comparison to a Grand Vitara. The infotainment screen is new, the UI UX of that screen is different, the digital instrument cluster, that is different. You're getting 7 airbags offered with this car as standard. And importantly, this is going to be, well, India is going to be an export hub for the e-Vitara.
Yeah,
meaning, what, 180-ish countries, 150 countries, something like that, where we are going to be exporting?
And that is coming out of Suzuki's plant in Gujarat, right? And for the first time ever in a Maruti Suzuki car, you will see ADAS. But it has its fair share of challenges too. Rear seat space, as we figured out, is a question mark right now. The under-thigh support seems a little off.
It's a bit okay considering it's a born electric vehicle. Based on what we saw at the Auto Expo, we want to spend a little bit more time with the car, drive it around and see how it fares up against the competition. But that's a long and short of this particular car. I think we should be seeing a launch somewhere around midway through the year as per our earliest estimates so far. And of course, we are not just ZigWheels on YouTube, we are ZigWheels.com. For the latest updates, you'll see a long list of models linked in the description. You can always head over to ZigWheels.com and get the latest updates right there. And of course, follow us on social as well. As and when we have any latest or, up-to-date information for you, you'll see it right there, if not in this video.
All right. So from the e-Vitara, we're moving on to a vehicle that is clouded in some mystery right now.
I should offer one bit of information about this particular car.
Okay.
I have it on good authority that this car, let's put it out there, it is Maruti Suzuki's Tata Punch rival, purportedly. It was supposed to be the second showstopper at this year's Bharat Mobility Show for Maruti Suzuki.
Okay.
It was actually planned for that, at least in concept form, because the e-Vitara is basically a production car. This was supposed to be showcased over there, but because of the timelines of the Bharat Mobility Show, because this is happening now, it's becoming an annual event and certain timelines weren't matching up for that car to show up, we didn't see it.
Okay.
But chances are towards the end of this year, we might get to see a somewhere between prototype to production version of Maruti Suzuki's Tata Punch rival, which will be retained from the MS Arena outlets.
Oh, that is interesting because the first thought that popped in my head was, hey, does that replace the Ignis? Because let's face it, even that hatchback has been on sale for really long without an update. But all other product gaps have been filled. I remember us discussing, hey, where does Maruti Suzuki have a gap in their SUV portfolio? They've got a sub-4 meter in the Brezza, in the Arena. They've got Fronx, which is in Nexa. They've got the Grand Vitara. Anything beyond the Grand Vitara would obviously be Nexa territory, which only means that there is a sub-Brezza SUV coming in. And if that SUV comes in, it has to go to Arena because of the sheer reach.
Yeah. And speaking of a missing link in Maruti Suzuki's lineup, One thing that they haven't had so far is a 7-seater SUV.
Yeah.
We've seen great options with family cars in the XL6 and the Ertiga, which are stalwarts in their respective
Also
positions.
the Invicto, which I think is better value for money than an Innova, but
I'd agree too. Yeah. But yeah, these are all MPVs, family vehicles. The SUV flavor being combined with a 7-seater, that hasn't happened yet, which is what we're expecting to see this time around with the arrival of what we are so far calling a Grand Vitara 7-seater.
Yeah.
Now the final platform details, the name, etc., that's not finalized. We are expecting it to, given the choice, would it lean towards Grand Vitara or e-Vitara? I would say it would lean Grand Vitara as a product. Engine options also, I am expecting a similar sort of combination where I'm not expecting a diesel to be offered here. I am wondering though if they will offer the 1.5 K15C with this, because that engine doesn't really seem like it would be ideal for 7-seat applications. But then again, we are seeing that kind of combination offered with the MPVs.
I view it is, let's face it, it is Maruti Suzuki's Alcazar. Okay.
Pretty much.
Does the Alcazar come with the 1.5 from the Creta? No, it does not. The Alcazar has a 1.5 turbo. If Maruti chooses a turbo engine or introduces a turbo engine, which would be a great addition for a car like this because it's just the right product, and there is white space there to tackle, because in the 20 to 30 lakh space, you've got your Harriers, you've got your XUV 700s and Alcazars battling it out. Really good options from Japanese manufacturers, because bear in mind, if Maruti Suzuki is doing it, Toyota will follow up too. And if I get a hybrid 7-seater SUV,
that's
for 25 to 28 lakh rupees on road, that is something that I would be interested in.
Yeah, a fuel efficient 7-seater. It's not really there right now, even with the diesel.
Unless you spend another 10 lakhs and get a High Cross or an Invicto hybrid.
Correct. Yeah.
Because that does not exist. That there genuinely is space for Maruti Suzuki to play, and we expect them to capitalize on it. There have been random spy shots of this car where you can make out it is a Grand Vitara-ish SUV that's doing the rounds. I want to see when it comes into production, because in case of Maruti Suzuki, the production timelines are kind of warped because there's a lot of internal testing that goes on before mules are actually sent out.
True.
You might have noticed that it's not very common for Maruti Suzuki mules to be spotted.
Not very easily.
And if they get spotted, they're usually closer to launch, which gives us enough reason to tell you that that SUV is something that we're expecting this year.
Now, I think that about does it for what we should be expecting in terms of brand new launches for Maruti Suzuki this year. There are a couple of cars where we have some question marks. So one is, what on earth is happening with the Maruti Suzuki Ciaz?
Oof.
That seems like a segment where Skoda, Volkswagen have taken interest and they did what they could over there. The Ciaz was sort of a middle ground between your sub 4 meter cars like the Desire and Amaze and the top of the line models like your Virtus or Slavia. But it's sort of, I'm not finding what position or what need it's filling in at this point, and it is definitely dated as a product.
It is dated, but it still ticks so many boxes, which is the only reason why I kind of understand why Maruti is hesitating to take it behind the barn and shoot it. Because as a product, it is comfortable, it's spacious, and it is now available at a price point where sub 4 meter sedans have moved into.
Yeah, true.
So if you want a big but slightly outdated car, the Ciaz serves that purpose. But for how long is the question? It is definitely nowhere close to what you expect from a car in 2025.
I think my question isn't about it being taken behind the barn and being shot or something like that. For me, it is it going to continue as is, or are they planning an update? Because I have spoken to some people who I know in the company, obviously on the condition of anonymity. They don't seem too keen on doing something about it. If more likely than not, it's just going to continue as is. Maybe some model year updates, but nothing significant that I'm expecting at this point in time. One thing that can be significant is something we might see with the Fronx, because there has been talk of a second version of Maruti's hybrid journey with the series hybrid that's going to come in. It's going to be an entirely new range of powertrain options that will be coming in, not only with the Fronx, but it could be the model to debut that. Basically talking about a version of the Fronx that's going to be cataclysmically fuel efficient.
Yeah.
And that is going to be its highlight. And with the exception of that, I think the packaging of the car is going to be more or less the same if and when that does happen.
There are product updates that we are expecting. First with the Baleno, purely because there's a factor of time that kicks in. The Baleno was launched in 2022. It's 2025 now. It's time for an update. Also, the K12 engine will have to be replaced by the Z12. It's a matter of when and not if.
Correct.
Because emission norms are getting stricter. Maruti Suzuki needs to balance out their CAFE, emission regulation, and the 3-cylinder engine, like it or not, will come to the Baleno eventually.
Effectively, yeah.
This,
That is,
I feel, will be tied in with, I don't want to call it a facelift, because Maruti Suzuki does facelifts also pretty mildly.
Yeah.
They're more of like significant model year updates, let's call it that. A
True.
different bumper, a few more features here and there. That is something you can expect with the Baleno. But the swap from K12 to Z12 is something that I'm expecting to happen. Then there's the Brezza, which is finding itself battling with competitors that are just offering so much more. But the Brezza still sitting on top of the sub 4 meter chain for a really long time.
yeah,
Uh,
quite comfortably so.
quite comfortably so, and its success, I believe, it lies in its honest to God nature, where there's no faff or there's no frill about the
Yeah.
product. It just gets the job done.
It's a functionally sorted subcompact SUV, plain and simple.
And for that car, again, factor of age, Baleno and Brezza were launched in the same year. It's been 3 years. It would be in Maruti Suzuki's best interest to launch an updated Brezza for this model year, for sure. So that pretty much wraps up
Yes.
Maruti Suzuki. Lot of interesting things happening. Of course, Maruti Suzuki does a lot of special editions here and there. We're not really going to count them as new products.
True.
You will see them coming in throughout the year. That is a given. From here, where do you want to move to? Should we do Tata?
Yes.
All right. So Tata started 2025 on a high note.
Yeah.
Sending a lot of press releases, usually on a weekend. That included the updated Tiago, the updated Tiago EV, the updated Tigor, the updated Tigor EV, the updated Nexon. And the Nexon EV was updated fairly recently in late 2024. So that. Then they surprised us at the Bharat Mobility Global Expo with a Harrier EV, with the Sierra Ice, and an Avinya.
Yes.
But now let's talk about what is actually coming this year. Everything that's been updated, that's there, that's done. No more product updates there unless there is a hashtag red, hashtag dark, hashtag white, hashtag purple.
Kaziranga, Ranthambore edition, there'll be a lot of special.
Kashiganga Bhagirathi will happen with
Okay.
that. But what I'm really excited about and I want to tackle first is the Sierra.
Okay.
Because that is confirmed for this year.
Correct.
And that will debut whether in ICE or EV. What do you think?
Considering they've showcased two things that are leading me to this conclusion. One is they showcased the car at the Bharat Mobility Show. The model that was showcased, a lot of people call it a production car. It's not. It's representing the design of the production car. That was a hard model. That's what it was. No engine, वगैरह. And Martin Ulrich, global head of Tata Motors Design, has outright said that the launch is going to be happening in a few months from now, because that is the point where I'd asked him, when do we get to see what the interior is like? Because the model that they showcased at the expo, it was a half-cut interior with the see-through glass, so you got a basic idea of the steering and the fact that it's getting a triple screen like we've seen in the XCV90. But besides that, we didn't get more information. So I'm willing to bet that it's going to... We were expecting the Sierra EV to be the lead model, and then the ICE coming in. Maybe it's going to be the ICE coming first this time around. Possibly, I don't know if the B6 has something to do with Tata maybe going to make some other additions, some revisions, something to spice up the original Sierra EV. Maybe. It's just hypothetical at this point. But we are expecting at least one version of the Sierra to show up.
Yeah.
Engine options, we're not sure at this point. I'm expecting the 1.2 litre TGDI Hyperion that we saw in the Tata Curve, along with the staple Tata Motors 1.5 litre diesel. There are some reports of it getting the multi-jet 2 litre diesel, but I'm not quite sure about that, because it's an engine that they would have to get from Fiat, for which they will have to pay royalties, which makes it quite expensive.
Yeah.
So,
and there's another engine which I'm keen, which I think Tata Motors should put into the Sierra if they haven't already green flagged it, which is the 1.5 TGDI, which they've got. So a 1.2 turbo and a 1.5 turbo in a car that is effectively supposed to be a Creta rival is perfect. That, you know, the kind of power that those two engines will offer, because there are a lot of 1.5 TGDIs in the market already, whether you talk about Skoda, Volkswagen, Hyundai, Kia, it's there. So that is something that I feel Tata will naturally gravitate towards as well. Maybe not in the same, or maybe not in the highest spec of tune that that engine is possible to deliver, but I think that is going to be on the cards. Tata Motors experimented with the DCT in the Curve, in the Nexon. The Curve, in fact, has a diesel
DCT.
that is something that I believe that Tata Motors was just testing waters with the Curve, because the Sierra has got a lot of weight attached to the name, and they simply cannot afford to go wrong with it, because there's too much legacy riding on the shoulders of that particular SUV, and it'd be sad to see anything go wrong with a product that is called a Sierra, right? As far as the EV is concerned, I wanted to see the EV first.
True.
Especially because what Mahindra pulled off with the V6, and also because it was Tata's, or it is rather Tata's chance to show, hey, this is how our electric vehicles can be if we are given a clean slate.
Pretty much.
Because it'll be one of the first electric vehicles that they have that they develop completely on a clean slate. You could argue the Punch was also technically clean slate, but in the segment that a Sierra EV is supposed to, partake in, with the Creta Electric there, the Vitara there, Toyota will have its version of the urban cruiser that's going in, the B6 is there, ZS EV is there. There's just so many options. The Sierra EV is something that I was looking forward to. Suddenly there's a little bit of radio silence on, hey, what's happening with the Sierra EV. I won't be surprised if Tata Motors just pulls a rabbit out of the hat and say, hey, here's the Sierra EV. But at least one Sierra in
that
2025,
is expecting.
For sure. At least one electric SUV in 2025, that is also confirmed.
The Harrier EV with QWD.
What is QWD? Because it just sounds like QD.
Quad. Okay, this just struck me after the entire event, but it's supposed to be quad wheel drive, right?
Harrier Pookie बुलाना चाहिए उसको. Harrier QD है वो.
The guys looking to buy the dark edition will not take kindly to this, considering the badass version of the Harrier EV that they showcased at the Expo was the stealth edition, the stealth QD. No, it's like calling a B-52 bomber or something a QT. It doesn't work.
B-52 is cute. Moving on. Okay, so a Harrier EV is going to happen. There are no confirmation on the battery size or anything of that sort. But anyone that looks at a car that large sees how much space is available. Anywhere between 60 to 80 kilowatt hour is a reasonable bet.
Correct.
That is what something like the XEV9e has. XEV has got 59 and 79. This might just have something similar, maybe a 55, 75, a 60, 80, something of that sort. Again, they're claiming range of 500 kilometers, and for the first time ever, 500 Newton meters of torque in a Tata car. And also, after a really long time, all-wheel drive
in a Tata
car. Whether an electric all-wheel drive SUV was something people were hoping for, waiting for, that I'm not particularly sure. But at least you have an option.
Correct. Now is the time to put your money where your mouth is and not just ask for it online.
Yeah.
And after we've gone to these big boys and big names, there's one thing that goes lower down but is possibly more important than these cars, which is the Punch ICE's facelift. Yeah. Because we've seen a significant change that came in with the Punch EV on the inside as well as the front end.
Yeah.
The rear end stayed as is. So now I'm expecting those changes to float their way over to the Punch ICE as well.
I was surprised that Tata Motors chose not to update the Punch ICE when they introduced the Punch EV. I understand you need to give the EV a little bit of differentiation and a little bit of feel good and premiumize that product. And let's bear in mind that the Punch as a whole, ICE and EV put together, were the best selling car for 2024. I think the ICE deserves an update just as much. They've updated it on the features front. Once the Exter came in, Tata sprung into action immediately. You got you got your sunroof, you got a bigger touchscreen. All of that has happened, but there is still room for improvement. Just when you look at the Punch EV as a package, you know what to expect on a Punch ICE. Am I expecting new engines, new gearboxes? Absolutely not. You remember, this is a formula that Tata knows works. So do not expect them to mess with it too much. Sure, they'll do special editions there as well. They'll have a nature-inspired some edition. They might possibly do, something with a fancier interior or something of that sort. But as a product, the Punch will stay as it is. Expect cosmetic changes only.
Yep. Who next? Mahindra?
It is a good place to start with Mahindra because they are updating their Trimurti. So the XUV700, the Scorpio N and the Thar, all of them will get model year updates. Because all of them were kind of launched roughly at the same time. So they're due for an update at the same time. And we'll tackle this very quickly. The Thar, what is it getting?
I'm expecting a more roxified face.
And interior.
But the interior, I don't think they're going to go full in the rocks direction. I don't
No.
think the idea over there was to make, definitely not with white interior. Do not do that. Please, Mahindra, if
Please,
that's a plan,
yeah.
don't do that.
But a bigger screen,
Bigger screen, yes.
digital instrument cluster, and maybe a few more features here and there.
Yeah.
But a face that resembles the Thar rocks, and you'll still continue to have 4x2 and 4x4 options. You'll have a 1.5 liter diesel as well. Then there is the XUV 700. You know, it's getting the triple screen setup from the 9E. What else?
By and large, I think that's going to be the focus point for it, because whatever more major changes are there, I'm expecting them to come in with the XUV 700 electric first.
XEV 7E.
If it's called that.
That is what they've trademarked.
Probably. Yeah. So I feel like that is the place where we're going to see more significant changes with regard to similarities with what we've seen with the XCV90. So the triple screen, the difference in dashboard, the different materials. A lot of those touch and feel bits might just pull over and come over to the XUV 700 itself. But it's kind of it's a little bit of a gitchment, because even the XCV90 does have similarities with the 700, but it's more premiumized with a little more features. So I'm curious to see how much of that is going to make it over to the 700, how much of that is going to make it over to the XEV7E, and if both products are just going to be similar in their interior with features, quality, etc., etc., and if it's just going to be a differentiation of obviously exterior design as well as what drives them.
Right. So in terms of powertrain, I think that is pretty much what is going to distinguish it. I do not expect extensive exterior design changes. Maybe a nip and tuck on the bumper. The interior is going to have the triple screen layout. That is pretty much confirmed. But that is the long and short of what the XUV 700 is going to get this year. Then there is the Scorpio N, which is arguably our favorite Mahindra, just because of what it can pull off. The basic recipe remains the same. And I don't expect Mahindra to mess with the design either.
They shouldn't.
They shouldn't, because it just works. So what can you expect with a Scorpio N facelift?
Again,
or
I think
a model year update?
It's more of feature upgrades, because the infotainment package might get better. Hopefully, they will integrate certain upgrades like the improvement in the cameras that they're using, front and rear camera, the resolution, the processors on that front. Those are the kind of places where I want to see improvements. And potentially, they can also make some tweaks when it comes to the suspension setup, just because the Scorpio tends to ride a little bit hoppy, a little bit too stiff when it's being driven with light or no loads. So that is something that could be a mechanical upgrade, but not necessarily something that you're going to perceive or understand without experiencing the product directly.
There's one update that I hope comes in.
ADAS?
Yeah, ADAS, because it scored a 0 in ANCAP purely because of that.
Literally.
It takes nothing away from the structural capability of the Scorpio, but that is something that they obviously need to work on if the Mahindra Scorpio N has to be the global product that it is being pitched as, because it sells in South Africa and Australia, so on and so forth. So that is an update that I'm expecting on the MY 2025 version. Towards the electric end of things, other than the XEV7E, which is the 700 electric, there are chances of the 3XO getting electrified as well, because currently what's on sale is the XUV 400,
correct,
which still carries on the old face, the XUV 300 face. And there is potential, because the 3XO's design has been wild, in your face, brash, something that people love. And that design, that interior with an electric powertrain might just work. That is something that Mahindra can consider as well. Is there anything else? Are we missing something from Mahindra?
No, potentially we're going to see a name change with this particular car. I'm not sure if it will be called XUV 400 or XUV 4XO, but we have it on good authority that it's probably not going to be called an XEV 4XO or 400. It will be XUV only, continuing in that vein. And of course, besides the design changes, the feature packages, ADAS, the new touchscreen, all that kind of stuff is what we're going to see being sort of just being homogenized with ICE as well as EV. On this year's EV front, I think the primary focus is going to continue on the B6C as well as the XCV90, because these are brand new products in every imaginable way. Potentially, somewhere towards the year end, we might get a hint of something like a B6C Rally.
Yeah,
B6 Rally.
Yeah, that is an off-road concept that they had showcased. The platform is capable of all-wheel drive. If they choose to, bring that into production, it will go into production with the Rally. That is my natural thought for the product. But I am also expecting Mahindra to pull at least one surprise, because they always do it. We weren't expecting the B6 and the XCV90 together, for instance, last year, right? and they had shown us concepts of, there was a B7, there's a B9, there's there's more in the XEV range as well. So one of those new products, possibly from the B family, right? That can possibly happen this year as a showcase, if not a launch.
I'm just expecting that Mahindra is probably going to have us get our passports ready for something. Something, because they are definitely, especially with the BA and XCV range, their eyeballs are focusing a lot more outside of India, as much as, if not more than, they are in India. And let's put it simply, with the XCV9E as well as the B6E, Mahindra ने बहुत कुछ किया. I think that's a good segue to see Kia क्या करने वाला है.
Okay, Kia क्या करने वाला है? Did I ruin that punchline? Kia.
You've done it already. Just follow through.
Anyway, Kia kickstarted the year with the Ceros. They showcased the EV6 facelift, the global facelift, at the Bharat Mobility Expo. That will continue to be a CBU that will launch in some time. New face, a few new features, nothing dramatically different. That is happening. What is interesting is what is happening to the Karens.
Nothing and a lot at the same time, somehow.
Right? Now, there are two products that we need to bear in mind. There is a ICE update coming. But is it the Karen's facelift? The answer is yes and no. Okay. Because the pre-facelift Karens will continue to sell alongside the newer model.
Correct.
What is the newer model going to be? Think of what the XL6 is to the Ertiga. It is a Karen's Plus, say a Karen's Pro, a Karen's Premium, whatever.
It will be called as such as well.
Yeah, it will have the Karen's name and a suffix. That is what we know. Again, it is moving to Kia's new global design language in the way it looks. The interiors will be updated. It will get new features, and Kia's actually kind of setting benchmarks. Like we've seen what they've pulled off with the Ceros, right? That is something that you can expect in this updated avatar of the Karens. And the old Karens continues to sell as is anyway. Now, this updated version will have an electric derivative.
Correct.
And it is an interesting space that Kia's choosing, because everyone is doing 5-seater SUV EVs, right? Unless you go beyond the 25 lakh rupee space where the, where BYD something like a BYD comes in. Not even the XEV9E, that's such a large car, is a 7-seater, it's a 5-seater. So Kia's choosing to go electric with a 7-seater, which is very interesting. That will happen somewhere around August, September. That is where I'm expecting both the versions of the Karens to be launched, right? And then there is the Ceros EV, which will happen for sure
in 2026.
In 2026. So best guess is Bharat Mobility Expo 2026.
I think along those lines, there's one important question that also needs to be answered, because the Ceros is now hitting somewhere around 18 lakh rupees ex-showroom topping out.
17.8, yeah, with ADAS.
So at this point, one thing that's supposed to happen is that the Seltos might just start going a size or so, or half a size larger than what it is. But that is not a change we're expecting in this year at least. And if we're talking about what kind of updates we're expecting with the new versions of the Karens Pro, Pro Max, whatever it is that we want to call, a lot of it I think we can look to for in the Ceros itself. So rear ventilated seats, front ventilated seats, new infotainment, panoramic sunroof, ADAS, all of that kit is probably going to make its way into the Karens as well. The only thing I am concerned about is Kia tends to be a bit sketch when it comes to the suspension setups. So the Seltos was a little too stiff. The Ceros feels confused. The Sonnet is again on the stiffer side. There's a little inconsistency in how we get those cars.
The Karens for now rides really well. It's very neutral.
But you're looking at a battery pack that's going to be coming over there. That's going to obviously add a lot of weight. It's still going to be a 7-seater, which means the weight complications even more complex to deal with, because what do you set up the suspension for? And if you're talking about what battery packs, I'm expecting a lot of stuff to be similar to the Creta, but I'm not sure about that yet. I am expecting NMC architecture. I am expecting 41 to 52 kilowatt hour battery pack options, if not larger than that. But ballpark, this is still going to be an electric car that's potentially going to be offering between 400 to 450 real world travel range on a full charge.
Right. So that is Kia. And let's move on to their sister concern, Hyundai.
Now, coming over to Hyundai, generally there's a lot of mystery because we haven't been able to get the best possible information about their timelines. One of the models that we are slightly excited about potentially is the new generation of the Venue, because The reason why we're mentioning this car is because it's due, just from purely a timeline perspective. Now, what exactly is it that we're going to see in terms of changes with the car? It's hard to say. I'm not expecting any differences in terms of the powertrain options that are going to be offered. Feature front, yes, there will be potentially upgrades. Maybe this is going to be offering a panoramic sunroof like we've seen with the 3XO as well as the Tata Nexon.
And the Cirrus.
And the Cirrus. Then there might be powered seat adjustment becoming, 6-way instead of 4-way, stuff like that. Beyond that, what differences are going to be there in terms of dimensions, etc.? It's hard to say at this point.
It's safe to assume that Hyundai will continue to use the K1 platform for the Venue.
Yes.
Reinforced, as even Kia is calling it, for the Cirrus. Oddly enough, the infotainment on the Venue now feels old because it's got a small 8-inch screen. The instrument cluster is, that Casio type digital display, which can be, it can be moved to a fully digital driver's display. That screen can move to a 10-inch screen. There can be more features like a dual zone climate control, or like you said, a properly 6-way power adjust for the seat. In principle, the product remains the same. You will see a brand new design inside out, and you will see more features. I also expect the Venue to move slightly up in the price chain as a result of it, because they've got the Exter for the under 10 lakh customers now, where the Exter by itself is also quite well loaded in terms of package. So the Venue has a little bit of breathing room for it to move slightly above. And in the same vein, Hyundai will also possibly look at giving the Exter a small nip and tuck, a model year update.
Yeah, I don't expect not a
facelift.
Not a facelift. I'm not expecting some kind of facelift being introduced because the product it's quite new that way. So it'll be more of a little bit of tweaking in the variants, definitely some special edition that we can expect, but that's about it. The other car that we have on our list is, well, it's a sister of the Kia EV6, the Ioniq 5. Now, we haven't seen the car showcased at the Mobility Show itself because their focus was, of course, on the E3W, the E4W, as well as the Creta Electric. But the Ioniq 5 has received an update overseas. It's a kind of sort of a facelift because on first impressions, you can't tell what's different in terms of design. It's very minor. But there are certain changes that are small but significant, like there are now physical buttons available for the heating and seat ventilation functions. There are small tweaks on the cabin design and layout for making accessibility a little bit better. There's also a new battery pack option of 84 kilowatt hours. So potentially you could be looking at a longer range model as well. But I don't expect it to, one, come with all-wheel drive in India, nor am I expecting, unfortunately, the Ioniq 5N to come here.
No, that is something.
It would have been wonderful.
It would have, but as long as the Ioniq 5 update makes its way to India in CKD form, I'm more than happy, because it's really been one of those super value for money luxury EVs that we had in the 50 lakh rupee segment. That is something that will continue. Are there any more Hyundais? Oh wait, we need to talk about an electric SUV from Hyundai that is coming in. We can say this with reasonable authority.
On 3, 2, 1. It is not the Venue.
It is not the Venue. There will be an electric SUV from Hyundai that will be positioned under the Creta. I have good reason to believe it is the Insta. Again, shares platform with the Cirrus. The Cirrus EV is debuting next year. 2 and 2 together, Hyundai Kia Bhai Bhai, might just happen. But not this year. In 2026, we'll repeat this line in the next year ka video also. Okay, so Hyundai is pretty much done. We've covered all the launches. If they pull out a surprise in terms of a few special editions here and there, if the Verna gets, another spoiler on top of the spoiler they've already put, that is something that's possible. But on the whole, their product range in general is quite fresh. The Creta just got an update. The Alcazar is fairly new. So don't expect major action from Hyundai. Now we move on to
Skoda. Ooh. Now with Skoda, it feels like it's going to be Skoda. It feels like it's going to be something of a throwback, a little bit of deja vu, because it feels like, and this is what we've received from Skoda at the Bharat Mobility Show, all of the big names that made Skoda in India are coming back. The Superb, the Octavia, the Kodiaq, it's all coming back in different ways, shapes and forms. But I feel like we should begin with what is going to be the most important of these launches. It's going to be coming in as a CKD, or parts and components as Skoda calls it. The Skoda Kodiaq, 7-seater monocoque SUV that's punching above its weight in many ways, just like the Superb does. So it's got, in this new generation, a lot of new features. So 13-inch touchscreen, new digital instrument cluster, there's dual wireless phone chargers, a lot of simply clever touches, there's ADAS, there's a gear selector on the steering column, ventilated seats, powered tailgate, etc., etc., etc. That's all going to be happening. So it's definitely a very promising product. Definitely something that's also very family friendly. But importantly, my main point of curiosity with this Kodiaq is what is going to power it.
Yeah.
Because Skoda has said that they are going to be offering an alternative fuel option.
Yeah.
The most likely candidate on this front is the 2-liter 4-cylinder TSI, turbo petrol,
Yeah.
which is going to be fun, which is going to be exciting, but it's also going to be thirsty. On that front, alternatively, they could be looking at some options like they have a 1.5-liter plug-in hybrid model that's capable of delivering an all-electric range of about 110 kilometers on a full charge. That's significant, but it probably will compromise the boot space a little bit. There's a little bit of a mental block with offering that bigger car with that small an engine in terms of pure displacement, even though it may be technically competent. The option that we are looking to with,
I am just going to say it, Skoda. I know you're watching this. Just give us the 2 TDI. Just do it. Everyone wants a 2 TDI, and we were having a discussion with someone at Skoda, and we asked, hey, is diesel really as bad as the governments of the world are making it out to be? And let's just say we got a very emotional reaction.
Yeah, what is the question we asked? We won't name them, of course. But when he said that, what are the real emission levels that you can get to with both petrol and diesel? What's the difference? And his answer was that's how level they can be. And we've seen enough of these tests that with the right amount of regulation, the right amount of regulatory software or hardware coming into play, diesel can be as green a fuel as petrol is. It's being vilified for no reason.
It is. And again, Skoda built its reputation on TDI.
Yes.
And if that comes back to Skoda, for me, Skoda is Skoda completely. Yeah. I'm not saying the TSIs are not fun, but TDIs have their own charm.
Definitely.
For them to be as fuel efficient and as fun to drive, brilliant combo. Anyway, we move on to another car which is confirmed for this year, which is the Octavia RS. Now, a lot of people got mad at me when in the Car Dekho reel, I said that RS stands for really sunky. I know it does not stand for really sunky. It's a joke because that car is really sunky.
It is.
A 2-liter TSI in that sedan, 265 horsepower, nearly 400 Nm, 370 Nm of torque. You've got a quick DSG gearbox. There is an all-wheel drive option globally, but we are unlikely to get it. And the car they showcased at the expo, oh, that tennis ball spec is just... And at the end of the day, it's still a luxury sedan.
Yeah.
More than anything, it is an investment in my books. This is a car that defies the laws of depreciation, at least in our country. So if you buy this car, 100% chances that Skoda will do a limited run and all of that, and they'll get sold out very quickly, but you will not lose money on it. Realistically,
150, upper limit 200 units put together.
Possibly,
because the prices are going to be even higher than what we'd seen with the RS245. The RS245
was
34 lakh ex showroom, I think.
Yeah.
So that is...
This one will be significantly more, I feel.
40 plus is pretty easy.
Very easy, very easy. And the next CBU, so as to speak, on Skoda's list is the Superb.
Yeah.
And Skoda's kind of burned their hands with the Superb CBU already. I don't know why they chose to do it, because at the end of the day, they had to get rid of the stock by offering discounts as high as 18-20 lakh rupees.
Not surprising.
Which brought it back onto, par with the CKD Superb. You might as well just price it there. But the Superb is going to be a CBU, which obviously gives them flexibility in terms of what powertrain they want to import. At the expo, we saw a diesel 4x4. Obviously, that's not going to happen. But was Skoda trying to gain customer insights or, put out feelers? Hey, what if we bring the TDI back? Again, Skoda, just do it. The Superb TDI was a fantastic product because the other option in a Superb was a 1.8 TSI, which by default was a guzzler. And in a car that large, of course, it was smooth and efficient, smooth and not efficient, all of that. But I think a 2 TDI just makes sense.
Yeah, and the Superb in general, its placement, yes, even if it comes in as a CBU, obviously is going to be expensive. There is potentially going to be some pressure for discounts at the dealer level. But let's not forget that every segment of luxury car has also moved up to a borderline absurd price point now. So the E-Class is retailing for S-Class money. The C-Class is retailing for E-Class money. All those segments have moved up because these cars are super expensive, even naturally you would see that the super segment would also start moving up in
It
that
will,
way.
but here's the kicker, right? The previous generation Superb, when they brought it via the CBU route, it was priced at 52 or 54 lakh rupees ex showroom, north of 60 lakhs on road. That price for a Skoda Superb might seem a little, dicey for a lot of people, where people might want to spend a little more possibly and get maybe an entry level crossover from the German luxury brands.
Definitely.
That is quite a possibility. But if you wanted a sedan, right, at that 60 to 70 lakh rupee space, there is still nothing as large and spacious as a Superb.
Correct.
So if that is something that you're after, you don't mind spending the money and you don't really care for the badge, you just want the value, the Superb oddly will still deliver on that front.
Now on Skoda's front, besides the Kodiaq, the Superb and the Octavia RS, there are some options that are kind of sort of on the fence, but potentially they will be coming in. One is the locally assembled Skoda Octavia, the standard version, not the RS. That could be coming in with a 2-liter TSI. Some other options may be possibly offered over there, but we're still waiting for the final details on that front, so don't want to speculate for the sake of it. Besides that, they will also be beginning their pure electric journey.
Yeah.
Now, this has been stalled for a long time, and this is also sort of indicative of why it is that we say that these timelines are subject to change, because it's been now 2 years since Skoda has had multiple international media drives for the Skoda Enyaq.
They showed it at the last year's Mobility Expo also.
Correct, but that was still because they were showcasing, Skoda VW Group had to put something up, so they showcased the best possible option on that front. But there was one batch of journalists that went for the drive. 6 to 8 months passed, we moved to the next year, and they were saying that after that drive, within a year, it's going to launch. It didn't happen. We passed that date, we had our drive, we were said it's within this year, didn't happen.
Yeah.
So now the Enyaq itself has received a facelift. So if they do decide to get the Enyaq, it's not going to be the pre-facelift car.
Yeah.
It is going to be the latest version. Alternatively, if they do not get the Enyaq, they might get the L-Rock. Now, the L-Rock is a Creta-sized electric vehicle that they did showcase at the Bharat Mobility Show as well. Looks like $1 trillion. Beautiful looking car, has a similar sort of design language that we are seeing debuting with the Kailac
in India. Yeah.
So these are the two possible options that they will be looking at when it comes to the electric portfolio. Which one is going to come, or at least which one is going to come first, we're not sure. But something is expected on that front within this calendar year, or at least fiscal year at the very least.
Yeah.
Besides that, one model that is due for an update now is the Skoda Kushaq.
Yeah.
Now, there's a little bit of ambiguity because some people were expecting the Kushaq to move like a size larger, because the differentiation between the Kushaq and Kailac is not that well defined, especially when you're talking about the non 1.5 TSI versions.
Yeah.
Because the cabin space is a little bit less. The feature set is on par, in some cases better than the Kushaq. Boot space is a little less, but again, it's
expected.
The differentiation for the kind of price difference that is there between the two products, it might be a little bit too little for people who are looking to buy the 1-liter TSI version of the Kushaq. And let's face it, the majority of Kushaqs are the 1-liter TSI. So the product may be getting some upgrades in terms of size, in terms of design, in terms of features. Possibly it's going to move up a size, maybe half a size or something like that, to make it just visually look a little bit more prominent.
Yeah, because bear in mind that the Kushaq and the Taigun, they look like half a size smaller than the Creta and the Seltos that we have today. So they need at least 40-50 mm in overall length. Other dimensions like the track and the wheelbase will remain the same. It will literally be a case of extending the bonnet and the bumpers so that it appears visually larger. Maybe larger wheels, slightly taller roof rails, so that overall dimensions seem pretty much identical to something like a Creta.
Correct.
Two things I don't want you guys to hold your breath for this year is a Kailac 1.5. It is categorically not happening. Do not bother wasting your time there. And the Slavia facelift. That is something that Skoda will reserve for next year, because the Kushaq and the Slavia were launched within a year of each other. So the Slavia will get an update next year. Again, if you are on the fence of whether you should wait for a new Slavia or buy one right now, I think maybe a small nip and tuck here and there, few more features, maybe a special edition of some sort, that might happen, but not a comprehensive facelift. So, are we done with Skoda then?
Yes, we've addressed the SA. Now let's move to the VW in IPL.
So VW is launching two very interesting cars.
Yeah.
The first of which is something that I really want to buy, but I'm sad that my bank balance won't support it.
Yes.
That is the Golf GTI.
Yes.
I can say with reasonable authority that it will be limited to 250 cars in the country. It won't be a two-door like the Polo GTI was. It will be a proper four-door. and the asking price on road Mumbai is going to be anywhere between 60 to 65 lakh. That raises eyebrows. But again, like I said, with the Octavia RS, this car is going to be pretty much depreciation proof. It might just be an investment, and because it's very limited in number, and I hear from dealers that the unofficial pre-bookings, okay, तो bookings के पहले pre-bookings का भी unofficial.
The before of the before.
The before of the in the beginning.
In the beginning.
So that is there's great deal of interest there. Obviously, a lot centers on price, but surprisingly, there are takers for the Golf GTI, just given how exclusive it is.
True.
Even at 60-65 lakh rupees on road. The second car that we are expecting from Volkswagen is a Tiguan R-Line. Now that car is the go faster looking version.
Is the N line.
Yeah, it
is the Tiguan N line.
Yeah, R-Line.
Yeah, but I'm saying just for context for people who want to get something that's already there in the market.
Sportier bumpers, bigger wheels, all black interior, a bigger screen. That is what it is, because the Tiguan we get in our market is technically not the top spec model.
Correct.
It misses out on a lot of things like a bigger touchscreen. It misses out on a premium audio system. It misses out on a very annoyingly a powered co-driver seat and seat ventilation. All of that is expected. There is some ambiguity on whether, surprisingly, even at the dealer's end, okay, whether we are getting the R-Line of the old model or the new model. Because both are available in the international market, and both, technically, if you're CBUing it, both can be brought in. I want to put my money on the new one.
It stands to reason.
Stands to reason, because that is what they might want to do. They phase out the old Tiguan entirely, bring in a new model. That too is expected to be north of 50 lakh rupees ex-showroom.
Not surprising.
Not surprising, but again, for 70 lakh rupees, if you wanted 70 lakh rupees on road, if you wanted a special looking Tiguan, that is going to be an option in 2025. And from here, we'll move on to someone,
MG.
Yeah, someone who's making really huge strides,
especially in electric vehicles.
They took a great gamble with the Windsor, and it paid off.
Yeah.
Battery as a service might have been a marketing stunt, but it got people talking, and it managed to beat the Nexon EV. What is MG doing this year? The Cyberster, because, I mean, look at it.
Yeah.
It's a two-door convertible MG. It's almost like MG is going back to their roots, making tiny little sports cars, but it's not going to be the lightest sports car there is, even if the size suggests. It's got a massive 77 kilowatt hour battery pack, but the number that are really interesting are over 500 horsepower, over 700 Nm of torque, 0 to 100 in 3.2 seconds. That is sports car territory, supercar territory in some cases. But that is happening, and a little birdie tells me that MG is seriously considering offering battery as a service for the Cyberster as well, which leads me to think that we might actually have a affordable two-door sports car, relatively speaking, under 50 lakh, but the full car with the battery is expected to cost anywhere between 70 to 80 lakh rupees ex-showroom. I've seen a lot of these luxury car buyers be a little experimental with the brand. So if the Cyberster suddenly sees a lot of takers, I will not be surprised. From the Cyberster, let's move on to the other electric, let's say, it's a very logical bet that MG is taking, the M9.
Yeah, it's at the diametric opposite end of their electric spectrum in some ways, because we saw it last time around as the MIFA 9.
Yeah.
The updated version of that is what's coming now as the M9. And like the Cyberster, it's going to be sold through MG's new select range of dealerships. It's the more premium end of the spectrum where the more expensive products are going to be coming in, not the high volume products necessarily. But the M9 is like, it's a behemoth. It's a 5+ meter long MPV. It's got a 90 kilowatt hour battery pack, but of course, because the battery pack is very big and the vehicle is very big, real world range is still somewhere around 450-500 kilometers at last check. The highlight of that car is the back seat experience, because it's going to be lounge style seats with adjustment, with reclining.
A little screen that adjusts everything.
Exactly. So you can have heating, ventilation, massaging. Basically, it's going to potentially be the new Bollywood car, the new film industry car as a special, because it's all about the backseat comfort and luxury.
Where the price is expected to be for it?
That is something I'm curious about because I'm not sure how they're going about bringing the car here. If it's coming in as a CBU, it is going to be somewhere I would expect in the welfare territory.
Oh, above a crore for an MG.
Again, depends on if they do the BAS there too.
Yeah, and if they do the CKD route, I've got enough reason to believe that they might be able to crack a price that's similar to the Carnival, which is around 65 lakh ex showroom. If they do that, I think there's a really solid option in the M9 where you get all the benefits of a large van and no running costs, right? Whether it's diesel or petrol, it does not matter. But the M9 is something that I'm looking forward to. And there is another product that will sit alongside it in MG's premium select range, which is called the Majester. Now, when this car was being tested, everyone just assumed it was the Gloucester facelift, which it technically is, but the Gloucester is going to be sold in normal MG showrooms as is. This becomes the, again, Ertiga XL6. It's basically that, right? It is MG Select's Gloucester. It's called the Majester. Has a different face, has a different interior theme, but largely the car is similar to the Gloucester. So if you wanted a Fortuner sized car for Fortuner money, but wanted more features and wanted something that looked slightly different from a Gloucester, you now have an option. Okay, and towards the non-premium end of things, one of the first things that I would want to see MG do is give the Windsor a bigger battery pack. It deserves it because it's really pulling in the numbers for MG. Second, I want to see a product update of sorts for the Comet, not confirmed. And then there are the Aster and the Hector.
Yeah.
The Aster is competing in a segment where volumes are pretty much taken by the Seltos, Creta,
Grand
Vitara, and the Hector is sadly competing with really strong opposition like the XUV700, the Harrier, and the Safari, and the XUV is pretty much dominating the sales chart there. So if MG chooses to go back to the drawing board with products like the Aster and the Hector to just bring them back up to public memory, hey, these products, are really competent, these are something that's worth your time, then that is something that could happen. MG has already given the Aster revision in terms of features and price. Whether they choose to do a product update or not, that's something that we'll have to see. Nothing's confirmed as of now.
Yeah, pretty much the way I look at it, for the Aster, a stumbling block is its size because the cabin's very premium but not very spacious. With the Hector, I feel like one cheat code that they're not unlocking yet is just a damn diesel automatic.
Yeah.
That segment demands it. Let me know what you think in the comments.
All right, so Renault. We got an email from Renault saying there'll be the next generation Kiger and Triber in 2025. Now we've got an invite to check out the MY 2025 Kiger and Triber. Now, I know for a fact that the MY 2025 revision, which is happening now, is a chota mota feature change. There's nothing major. The turbo engine is available across more variants now. More features have been moved to lower variants, and there is a CNG option. This is not the new gen product that Renault's promised. It will come eventually.
Correct.
Details on the Kiger and the Triber are very scarce right now, what we can expect from those products as a whole. But the one thing I really hope Renault does is give the Triber a 1-liter turbo, because that engine with 7 people just struggles.
I just don't see it happening. It's like something we've been pushing for. It's like a punch with a turbo, Tata Punch turbo. Yeah. I just don't see it happening because I feel like the customer set for whom the Triber is targeted at, that engine just gets the job done right enough till the point that they move on to maybe a larger or more mature product.
Yeah, but do not expect major changes. It'll still share the same platform, the same running gear. If they choose to do better in terms of quality, it would be a plus for them. If they choose to do better in terms of features, it would be a plus for them. Like, people have been asking for sunroofs and ventilated seats and stuff like that in cars in that segment as well. So that is something that Renault could look at doing. Onto their cousin, Nissan. Hopefully still cousin by the time this airs.
Yeah, so that with Nissan, we're not expecting anything major really happening. The one purple model potentially that they might choose to bring in a similar fashion as the X-Trail, which means horrendously overpriced. It'll be the Nissan Petrol.
Yeah.
So that's again, it's just a rumor. There's no confirmation on this,
Yeah.
nothing hard and fast, but it'll be a CBU.
Yeah, but there is good reason for that rumor, because Nissan did say that they want to establish the CBU end of their business also, and something like a petrol really, kind of fits that bill. Salman Khan has one, and
Bulletproof.
it is, for reasons. It is a very capable car, and if you've ever traveled to the Middle East, it's full of Nissan petrols, because it's spacious, it's reliable, it just gets the job done. That is something I feel Nissan could do. But otherwise, in general, they need a lot of premium / mass premium products to really kind of make meaning out of the Indian market, because there's just so much that Nissan can do but is choosing not to do for reasons best known to them.
I think
just the Magnite might not just cut it.
Definitely, they can't rely on the Magnite for too long, considering the Magnite itself is, a product that's due for certain upgrades now. By and large, I feel like their plans are going to be a little bit delayed until there's clarity between Nissan and Honda and what exactly trajectory that is taking, because on the global scale, India is not really that relevant a market for them, especially kind of numbers that they're getting. So they might wait for stuff to get a little bit more clear on that front. But one brand that obviously does stupendously well in India, with possibly the best margins of any brand when it comes to cars, is Toyota.
Yeah.
What are we going to see with Toyota happening?
Okay, so two Maruti product equivalents. First of all, the Vitara will become the urban cruiser electric, possibly, because they might have to add the suffix there. Globally, it's just called the urban cruiser. Shares absolutely everything with the Vitara.
Correct.
Will be manufactured by Suzuki.
Just by the way, that blue color concept car that they showcased at the Bharat Mobility Expo, that's not a concept. That's a production car with 3M stuff on it.
Yeah, this is the first time I probably saw a production car being converted to a concept, not the other way around. But anyway, that car is going to happen this year. And because there are rumors of Maruti Suzuki launching a 7-seat Grand Vitara, we might see a 7-seat urban cruiser high rider as well.
But the true blue system
Fortuner.
That is one model that is long overdue now for its new generation, not a facelift. Because it was somewhere, 7 years now, over 7 years now that the original model came out.
Yeah.
Before we knew terms like Legend.
2025. So
yes.
Yeah.
So 7 years. This is typically the life cycle for their body and frame vehicles, with the exception of maybe the Krista that's gotten something of an extension now. But it is due for a new generation. One thing I'm certain of is the debut is not going to happen in India.
Yeah.
This is a car that we usually look to Thailand to see, timelines as to when it's going to show up in India. What is expected is a 48-volt mild hybrid diesel option coming in. Yes, the Fortuner is not going to go just the pure hybrid way in the way that the Hi-Cross will. Maybe a hybrid Fortuner could happen. That's a potential option. But yeah, the Fortuner is a model where it's very difficult to get core details because they're very secretive about it. Test mules, once we start seeing them in India, it's still a late advanced stage. So I think we'll get some idea about this car somewhere close to the year end. I'm not sure if it's going to launch in India this year, but we might get some idea about it.
Also, in Toyota's case, I want to test waters with a belief that I have, that I feel Toyota will relaunch the Etios in India. This is a pure rumor. I will own up to it.
It's his pure rumor, because this is the first I'm hearing about it.
Because no, it's if you read the report of the Maruti Suzuki Dzire on ZigWheels.com, which you totally should go to the website. There's a lot of information there. Said you look at why Maruti Suzuki broke the Dzire away from the Swift shadow. You look at what the Dzire does as a core, cheap, or let's call it affordable, family sedan, which is comfortable, just gets the job done, is reliable. That is what the Etios was. And it is a product that they might not have as much of an issue sharing with Toyota, because Suzuki drew hard lines for cars like the Swift and the Jimny, because they're core to Suzuki as
a brand.
Yeah. The Dzire is as Indian as Maruti Suzuki as it gets. So I am testing this hypothesis.
So the Dzire becomes the Etios?
Yeah. You think about it, even has a Krista-like grille. Do you see it now?
If this happens, I would like to put it on the record that I will be UPI transferring 2,500 rupees to Arun. If this happens anytime in the next 5 years, till 2030, if this happens, if we see a Dzire being Toyota-fied. Even if it's not called the Etios, I will be taking that bet from him.
Okay, if it does not, I shall eat humble pie.
And give me the keys to his house.
No. Anyway, so Toyota's done.
Yeah.
Where do you want to go next from here?
Next is what we're going to be driving next week.
Ooh.
The BYD Sea Lion 7. Now, effectively, this is the SUV equivalent of the BYD Seal. So, it's going to be similar in many ways with a very quirky sort of sea life inspired design on the inside and the out. Top-notch quality in the inside, fantastic value proposition again, because I think the Seal is sitting somewhere around 52-ish lakh rupees.
For
this
the
will
top
be
spec, yeah.
Probably around 55 to 57, somewhere in that range, because SUVs do command their own premium, although this is not going to be all-wheel drive as standard. We are looking at certain features like it's supposed to get an 82 kilowatt hour battery pack. Obviously, range estimates, especially with BYDs, are really, really good. So north of 500 kilometers, 600 kilometers on this car should be quite easily doable. Power output, again, this is something that BYD Seal really knocked numbers right out of the sky, because the 0 to 100 that it's capable of, the rapid performance it delivers, it's simply insane. And it's accessing performance that otherwise you'd have to spend at least 30 to 40 lakh rupees more for in most cases.
Yeah.
So it's somewhere around 300. So it has different versions. So it can make anywhere from 312 to I think somewhere around 380 horsepower. The torque output ratings can be somewhere around 530 to north of 650, 690 Nm, I think in some cases. Lot of earth-shattering numbers that are potentially there. But what I find is quite promising is because BYD's presence in India, it's not that vast, not that expansive, and they've been pretty low-key when it comes to the passenger vehicle segment so far. But even with that, they've managed to pique a lot of interest, get a reasonable amount of customers coming in. So definitely, it's a good opportunity for them to start capitalizing on their position in the Indian market. They're taking it slow and steady. But I feel like the products that they have right now with the Atto 3, the Seal, as well as Sea Lion 7 and the E7 now, they've got a pretty dependable range and they're doing a good job of presenting what electric cars can be. Only one request, BYD, please keep a press fleet. Please let us drive these cars in more conditions than just the first drives.
The only thing that I'll add about BYD in general as a brand is that do not underestimate what they're capable of. From what they started at and to what they are now, there is a massive difference. It's like they've skipped generations. And like it or not, the Chinese are at the forefront of EV technology, and the BYDs are great demonstrations of what Chinese electric cars are capable of.
Next is a brand new brand.
That is
Vinfast.
Family. No? Oh, that's...
They're electric. They don't have diesel. It's Vin.
Nice.
Yeah. So
6 and 7 also. No?
Keep me trapped in your minutiae of horrifying jokes. So they showcased their model range at the Bharat Mobility Show. They had a big press conference. Somehow with cars that are internationally available but were locked. So we couldn't see the interior because I think they're still figuring out what it is that they want to do with the India spec products. But of course, they do have a factory setup right here in India. They're looking to introduce this year the VF7 and the VF6. Next year is going to be the VF3 is what they're looking at. So I'm not sure what to make of them just yet because it's a new brand, new product and a new market for them. So even they'll have some time to figure out where exactly they stand. How do they position their brand is something I'm curious about because this brand, when they started off with their press coverage, it didn't start off on the best note.
It did not.
They had lots of beeps and bongs, weird suspension setups. That was the large part of their feedback. But for a brand that's kicking things off, pretty good looking products that way.
Yeah, they are global products in the way they look, in the features that they have and the kind of tech that's gone in and the battery pack and the range that they will be claiming. I am not going to stick my neck out for any kind of specifications or features because it's simply too early. All we know is that Vinfast will launch the VF6 and the VF7 in India this year. They will also look at launching some two-wheelers. That is a separate story for another video. And that VF3, that cute little yellow thing, that was the first thing you saw at the Bharat Mobility Expo in their stall. That is something that I really wanted to carry in my suitcase and bring back home, but I could not. That is confirmed. That will possibly be one of their most affordable offerings for India. But again, sadly, that is not happening this year because they are in the process of localizing it. That is something you will be able to buy only in 2026.
Correct.
So Vinfast done. Of course, in this entire list, there might have been some misses. There might have been some rumors, there might have been some expectations, like my expectation of getting 2500 rupees from Tushar.
Or my expectation of seeing the Duster this year, not happening either.
Oh, that's not happening either. Yeah, that's happening next year. But on the whole, it's a very, very comprehensive list. A lot of days that are going to be spent testing, reviewing, driving these cars, and getting you all the latest information. Is there anything you want to add?
I think I can throw in a couple of honorary mentions at this point.
Okay.
Now, on the honorary mentions front, it's just some stuff that is rumored and some stuff we're just giving a quick throw to the luxury space as well. So, there is some talk of a Honda ZR-V. I'm not entirely sure about it. The rumors don't seem substantiated well enough for me. The Honda Elevate EV is happening, but that's in 2026. Jeep's plans, we are not privy to. Citroen, I don't know what they're doing. I feel like they need to focus on the product is sort of a second step in my books right now. I feel like Citroen needs to double down on just making sure people know they're here in India. Right now, the brand presence is not well established enough. Most people who are in the mass space don't even know they exist in India. I feel like they need to do a lot more work when it comes to their brand awareness. And when it comes to the luxury space, we are going to be looking at the A6 e-tron is going to be coming in. Audi is launching the new version of the RSQ8. There is, of course, Mercedes-Benz, who just launched the EQS 450. They launched the G580. They've got a total of 8 launches that they're looking at in this particular year. Lexus might be giving in the ES an update as well. BMW just launched the iX1 long wheelbase. There's going to be the new X3. There's going to be an update for the 2 Series Grand Coupe. So a lot of exciting stuff that's going to be happening on the luxury front as well. But of course, those updates as and when we get them, and like we said at the start of this video, it's not just ZigWheels on YouTube or Instagram. We are first and foremost a website, a very popular website for both motorcycles as well as cars. So if you want to do any research over there, get the latest news pieces, prices that are on road for your particular city, you can go ahead and do that using the links in the description. And if you want the latest updates on the specific models that we have addressed in this video, we'll go ahead and drop all those links to those model pages in the description of this video.
So that's the long and short of all the launches that we're expecting this year. If you've got any queries about any particular car, please leave them in the comments. We'll reply to you as soon as we can. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe and give us a follow on Instagram. We'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.